Okay, I do not know. Good morning, good evening, whatever time we are. I'm Zulkarnain, the president of the Pasway. I'm right now in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'd like to welcome all of you to our webinar series, a series of 4, and this will be our first series. First of all, I want to thank you to Shokotoku University Asian Research Institute for International Social Work, specifically to Professor Kimoto and Dr. Joseph for allowing us to use this technology. And our speaker for today is Shirley Ikala from New Zealand. And Tracy, our moderator, will introduce her more in length after this. And Dr. Tracy Mafilo, who's our executive board member of Pasway, she will be the moderator for today's session. And I'll give it to her now. Let's hope this will be a very interesting session. This is our first experiment. A little bit glitches here and there, do excuse us. We'll improve, inshallah. Okay, Tracy, it's all yours now.
Thank you very much, Professor Hata. I can hear the echo, Joseph. I'm not sure if you're able to do something with that. But my name is Tracy Mafileo. I'm at Massey University in New Zealand. And it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague Shirley Ikala, who is also a social work educator here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. This webinar series is on indigeneity in our Asia and Pacific region, and Shirley is an Indigenous woman with genealogical whakapapa links to the Indigenous peoples of New Zealand, in particular Ngāti Whātua, which is one of the tribes here, but also to Rarotonga in the Cook Islands, which is in the broader Pacific. A different country, a different Indigenous people. So she has links to both of those. Shirley works at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, which is one of 3 Indigenous tertiary education providers here in New Zealand. In terms of social work, of the 17 providers of social education, Te Wānanga Aotearoa actually has the highest overall number of enrolments, or 16% of total enrolments. And interestingly, in terms of our topic, has the highest proportion and number of Māori, Indigenous Māori students, as well as students from the other Pacific island nations that are close to Aotearoa, New Zealand. So Shirley's role is Kaiārahi, which is National Program Curriculum Manager for the qualifying social work degree. She's had over 20 years experience in both statutory and non-statutory social work bodies, and she also sits on the New Zealand Government Regulatory Board for Social Work here in New Zealand. She has a strong commitment on social justice, equity, and is committed to challenging systems that marginalise and oppress Māori. So all great social work values and commitments that we can relate to and share. So ngā mihi nui kia koe, Shirley. Thank you so much for taking up the invitation to be our first speaker for this series, and we'd like to hand over to you at this point and look forward to what you have to share to us about your bicultural social work program at your institution. Thank you.
Tēnā koe, Tracy. Ai, ka pō, ka ao, ka pō, ka aotea. Ka huri te ao, ki te whai ao, ki te ao marama, tihei mauri ora. Tēnā kaita i ngā hau e whā, i ngā kārangaranga maha, ai e te hunga kua tai mai nei no te tawahi. Tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Warm greetings from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I have mihi to you. I have greeted you in our native and te reo Māori. I have greeted you and I have talked about, and my opening statements were, it is night, it is the world, it is night, no, it is dawn of the light that has arisen. The world is turning, changing, to change itself in the world of enlightenment. The breath of life awakens. Nō reira, ngā mihi nui ka koutou, ko haere mai ki te whakarongo mo te kōrero o tēnei kaupapa. So I just again greet you once, twice, thrice. Today I'll be doing a presentation around the work that Te Wānanga o Aotearoa is involved in, particularly in the area of social work. Today you will hear the use of Māori language that will be throughout my presentation. I will translate as best, but the Māori language has many, many contexts to it. However, for the purposes of this presentation, it illustrates the bicultural nature of our program and the use of our reo. I will be using a PowerPoint so that you're able to follow this. If for any reason you can't hear me, just give a thumbs up, I think, to Joseph, and we will try and fix that technical error. Because like I said earlier, for those that were already online, IT is not one of my strengths.
Shirley, can I just check if others can see the PowerPoint, or have you not shared it?
I'm just going to share it again.
Okay, great.
It seems to keep dropping off for some reason. Okay, can people all see it?
Yes, we can see it now, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to have to do it. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, ka pai. This presentation today, first and foremostly, I want to acknowledge Taina Pohatu. Taina Pohatu was instrumental in the development of our 3-year social work degree, and his words, his thinking, his positioning have translated into the current degree that Te Wānanga o Aotearoa delivers. Taina guided the development of principled positionings. He guided Te Wānanga o Aotearoa in the integration and incorporation of Ngā Takipu that you will hear about a little bit through this presentation. His words and wisdom are reflected throughout this presentation, as he has been our guide, our mentor, and he is the one that holds and has put a stake in the ground with his introduction and his incorporation of the Bachelor of Social Work degree. This presentation will look at how we have woven into a social work curriculum 2 cultural paradigms, Māori, the Indigenous peoples of Aotearoa, and non-Māori. It will look at the integration of the knowledge, skills and values of bicultural social work that can be translated in Māori and in non-Māori social services. Principles of Ngā Takipu and how the program is guided by these principles, and the intersection of social work practice and biculturalism. Ngā Tautoko Whakaoranga, Bachelor of Bicultural Social Work degree, is a program offered at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa. It offers a way forward in the pursuit of best practice and promising social work practices in Aotearoa, New Zealand. It's an approach towards best and promising practices internationally. As a social work program, its philosophy centres on understanding the human condition of power, politics, professional relationships, advocacy, social and economic justice, equity and human rights, cultural legacies, and effective practice, and all in the pursuit of moriora, well-being. The program is grounded in bicultural framework that recognises the historical foundations of Aotearoa New Zealand society and consciously accords equal space to all aspects of the learning and teaching process for Māori bodies of knowledge to inform non-Māori knowledge sources. It is specifically designed qualification that provides a unique point of difference. Its core foundations are based in Te Ao Māori, a Māori worldview, and uses Mātauranga Māori, Māori knowledge, approaches as the core to its curriculum. The program is also underpinned and guided by the principles of Ngā Takipu. As applied principles, Ngā Takipu act as signposts to generations of how to live life, behave and engage with people as they pursue their aspirations and needs and are lived in the conscious and unconscious. But in order to understand this approach, you need to understand where we have come from and why. Te Wānanga Aotearoa is one of 3 wānanga in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Te Wānanga Aotearoa began from humble beginnings in a place called Te Awamutu, where I'm currently sitting, in the Waikato, central North Island, Aotearoa, New Zealand. A small group of visionary leaders, Rongo Wetere, Boi Mangu, Māori Pānapa, Rewi Pānapa, dreamt of making a difference in the world by providing supportive, inspirational and transformational education. It was also built in response to the high numbers of Māori ostracised from education in the schools. It's not a university, we're not a polytechnical institute, but it does have statutory recognition under the Education Amendment Act in 1989. Thus, the unique character and distinctiveness of wānanga is characterised by the following: teaching and research that maintains, advances and disseminates knowledge and develops intellectual independence and assists the application of knowledge regarding ahutanga, Māori traditions, according to tikanga Māori, our Māori custom. The establishment of wānanga marked a significant shift in the tertiary landscape for Māori and Aotearoa as a whole, building on the development of the kohanga reo, the Māori language nests, kura kaupapa, our primary education, and the wharekura, the high schools. Te Wānanga Aotearoa is a Māori organisation underpinned by its Māori ethos, philosophies, values and principles in a tertiary institution, with the purpose of advancing all aspects of Māori tradition according to Māori custom. But the journey has not been an easy one, and Te Wānanga Aotearoa has had to confront and endure opposition from all corners of the country. It has not come without its struggles, sweat and determination from moving to a rubbish tip, which is now the site of Te Puna Mātauranga, our head office, and branching out to the rest of the country. Our values, te aroha, te whakapono, ngā ture, ko tahitanga, are embedded in and woven through the actions we take to achieve successful outcomes for tauira, our students, and their whānau. Ngā Pautoko Whakarara Oranga, Bachelor of Biocultural Social Work, is offered at Te Wānanga. And this degree offers an opportunity to advance and embrace Māori and non-Māori theory, principles and practices, and it's a 4-year degree that is underpinned by Mātauranga Māori, Māori knowledge. Māori and non-Māori worldviews, philosophies, theories, models and practices are used throughout the program to facilitate bicultural social work practice. It normalises Māori bodies of knowledge and narratives within the curriculum. The curriculum is qualified by the term whakarara in the title, biculturalism, acknowledging that the 2 cultural paradigms, Māori and Pākehā. Pākehā is defined here in Aotearoa as those that arrived at the time of the signing of the Te Tiriti o Waitangi. These are the founding layers of this country's nationhood and are mutually valued. However, the relationship, though at times tenuous, continues to inform and readdress the current state of social service delivery and social work in this country. The intention of the degree is that graduates will make contributions of consequence in the pursuit of Māori ora, well-being through education. The intent of this degree is encapsulated, like I said, in its name, the values, and represents principled approaches to practice. Pautoko, consciously and purposefully applying Māori and non-Māori bodies of knowledge, whakarara, towards the pursuit of Māori ora, oranga, within social work practice. With its parallel pathway approach, biculturalism is the critical praxis pedagogy of this program. That is, as its main form of teaching towards socialising tauira students to become effective practitioners. Biculturalism holds the pedagogical norms that connect and integrate the relevant theories and practice models taught in this program. However, the notion of biculturalism is not static, and in the context of this degree, it has been interpreted as Māori and all non-Māori. This is inclusive of all cultures that make up the social work tauira population at Te Wānanga Aotearoa, as well as the Pākehā cultural paradigm, which is inherent in the social, political and economic makeup of Aotearoa. Sapirana Ngata in 1929 wrote, Māori philosophic utterances may exist in parallel reality of coexistence with other cultures, but acknowledge the confidence Māori have in their own philosophical and political assertions of sovereignty. Therefore, for this program, Shaping the Future Social Work Practitioner is grounded in Mātauranga Māori, whilst acknowledging the multicultural communities that are part of Aotearoa society. The use of language, Māori and English, throughout the curriculum affirms the bicultural intent of the degree. The power of language to inform, describe and construct behaviour is implicit in all cultures. The use of te reo Māori initiates entry to deeper Māori thinking, behaviour and the lived reality for Māori. Again, it normalises te reo Māori language. Taina Pohatu and his lovely wife Harieta have written much about Ngā Takipu. And Taina talks about Ngā Takipu as principled practices that have been selected from Māori bodies of knowledge and narratives, and that they are essential a part of re-identification, reclamation, rediscovery, and revalidation process, and they mark culturally transformative choices that have emanated out of te ao Māori sources. Ngā Takipu hold implicit attitudes, behaviours, and values with their associated messages. When contextualised and internalised, Ngā Takipu assume a central place in how people should engage in any kaupapa, purpose, intent. This led to the creation of the 6 takipu that you have in front of you. These takipu have been fundamental in its content assessments and delivery approaches within the curriculum and within the program. One of the positions taken in the degree program is the deliberate claim that best practice always included Ngā Takipu and not just theory and practice. They are humanistic conditions that sensitise tauira to engage in positive interactions, provide tools for categorising, synthesizing, interpreting and understanding information, and promote adaptive bicultural practices. The degree is based and organised upon these 6 takipu. These applied principles, which have equivalent Māori and non-Māori understandings, are woven throughout all of the papers within the degree. They are a core tenet of the program. Takipu statements, phrases are simple yet powerful statements of positioning. They set out how kaupapa, purpose and relationships may be treated, approached and engaged in. An important part of engaging in the implementation of takipu is to continually contextualise takipu to the purpose, the kaupapa and the relationship. This approach is integral with other features that reveal themselves through the journey of kaupapa and relationships, according to Taina Pohatu in his writings. Ngā Takipu is an inspirational model that can be contextualised into one's own indigeneity, culture and practice. It talks about quality space. It talks about the constant acknowledgement that people are engaged in relationships, the acknowledgement that the core of any kaupapa and relationship is the pursuit of well-being. He ara tohu is the methodology and the application of Ngā Takipu. It is a cultural reply and it's a culturally reflective tool. He ara tohu denote ways in which the mind and heart can be in synergy. It requires the need to be clear about why we do things and how we could go about doing and can be transformative and empowering. There are 9 positions that are specific and are connected to one another. It is the process of selecting, naming, defining, explaining, exampling, supporting, articulating, applying, reflecting. They are not in a linear, and if you note that they are in a circular so that there is the opportunity to go backward, forward, or to just stay within that position until you are ready to move to the next positioning. As Potoko, social work knowledge and practice, with whakarara biculturalism synergies are applied through the program's activities, oranga wellbeing can then be tracked, experienced, reflected upon and re-employed in the full range of social work settings. As principles, knowledge, theory and applications are learnt and demonstrated, it is anticipated that tauira students' integrated model of practice becomes a hōhaere, a valued companion, in their clinical, community, policy or research career pathway. The active pursuit of best social work practice intersects practice and biculturalism in Aotearoa, New Zealand. This marks a critical hallmark of the program. Developing shared visions is the cornerstone of the program. Māori and non-Māori bodies of knowledge enables tauira to be informed about the social, political, economic, cultural and historical fabric of Aotearoa New Zealand society and how it is that Māori ora well-being is connected within the field of social services, social work. This is affirmed in what Mason Jury in 2001 says when he talks about a secure and meaningful identity to enjoy good health and a sense of well-being. People must be able to live comfortably as cultural beings and as citizens of the world. The words cultural beings have been added in our program to the quote to contextualise it to specifically the program's intent. Ngā Potoko Whakaoranga, Bachelor of Bicultural Social Work, is founded on a Mātauranga Māori framework. This framework acknowledges Te Wānanga o Aotearoa's commitment to Māori education. It also centred firmly on the values and principles of the profession of social work in Aotearoa. The program upholds the view that all peoples of Aotearoa, with knowledge of our country's bicultural heritage, language and cultural traditions, along with the skills of the profession, are capable of working effectively with individuals, families, whānau, hapu and iwi and communities. Nō reira, ko mutu taku kōrero, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Shirley. Thank you so much for the presentation that you've offered to us here across the region and perhaps even further afield. So for all of us present here now, this is our opportunity to make comment, to perhaps ask questions, to have some dialogue around what our presenter has offered to us today. Now at the bottom of your screen, if you hover your cursor down there, you'll see a line of icons and one of them says chat. If you click on chat, you'll be able to type in a message. So please feel free to type in a comment or a question and our presenter will be able to look at those. But Professor Joseph, I think because of the numbers, I think it will be quite manageable also if you wish to speak. If you could raise your hand and our Joseph will be able to see that and will unmute you so that you're able to ask a question. So we'll just give a chance now to anyone who'd like to make a comment or ask a question, either through the chat or raise your hand and do it through your voice. Thank you.
Tēnā koe, Shirley. This is Peter speaking. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe.
Tēnā tumi kia koe. Me tō kōrero. Ka mutu e. Thank you for the invitation to come in. Shirley, I appreciate your talk, and I just sort of, I'm here in Hawaii, and I work with a lot of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders and a lot of Native peoples from the US and Canada, and and I so appreciate what's happening back home with a sort of bicultural approach to social practice. I guess my question is, it's Peka no Te Aroa, well, social work practice sits in a political context, you know, and we all know that. And back home, it's you know, there's a very strong presence of Maori, and the struggle or the fight to claim sovereignty and self-determination has been really strong. Struggling with, you know, quite a stringent federal government, or perhaps comment about some of the other Native peoples who are struggling with their own governments around how do they move towards such a powerful model, such a powerful sort of approach to social work. Sort of, do you have any thoughts about that?
Look, I think if you look at the history of Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, it didn't come about because the politicians thought it was great to have a space for Māori to come and learn. It took the courage of a small group of people to start with. Then Rongo Wetere, who was really fundamental in the establishment and around Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, he indicated he wanted a degree. He wanted a social work degree to be delivered from Te Wānanga o Aotearoa, but the framework, and he put a stake in the ground, and he said, his words were, it is time we took a stake in the ground and that we actually delivered a social work program that was based on Mātauranga Māori, Tikanga Māori. So it was, and like I say, it was a struggle. It was a struggle, but people believed in the vision. And I think that's where it needs to start. There needs to be a really strong belief. Look, there were 4 people who started this journey. They mortgaged their homes. They did whatever it took. And, you know, the story goes is in Te Awamutu, where I sit in this lovely head office, that we're built on a rubbish dump. The rubbish dump was offered to Rongo Wetere and those 4 people for $1. The people of Te Awamutu, some of them, said they would prefer to see a rubbish dump than a wānanga. That did not stop them, because if you have the passion and the desire, but the other thing that drove them was for the social work degree is Māori make up over 50% of those who are in care, those who are at the other end of the table receiving social work. However, the workforce is not reflective of that. While Te Atatu is another document that says it is now time for Māori to stand up and say, our bodies of knowledge, our narratives, our language is just as valuable, and that Te Wānanga o Aotearoa and its positioning is that the stake is in the ground, our bodies of knowledge, our frameworks is what leads us. We can't go wrong when you come back to your cultural being, and that is our foundation. I don't have a short, quick answer to give you. I have our journey, and our journey is because unless you start to have those passion, those desire, and you put a stake in the ground and said enough, then people have to start to listen. Are people listening now for Te Wānanga o Aotearoa? Not necessarily, but as Tracy said, we are the largest tertiary provider of a social work degree that is driven out of Māori bodies of knowledge, and that is driven by Māori frameworks. So if it's about creating a critical mass of understanding and knowledge, and I guess that's what we're about. I'm not sure if I answered you, but I guess you can hear that, you know, the passion and the fight. And I think if you look at Ranginui Walker's Ko Whawhai Tonu Mātou, Struggle Without End, this will still be a struggle for Te Wānanga o Aotearoa and the other 2 wānanga. It will always be until such time as that there is true biculturalism in Aotearoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Shirley. And I want to thank Dr. Peter Mataira, who's originally from New Zealand, but is based now at Hawaii Pacific University. And so thank you very much for your comment and your question, Dr. Mataira. So again, the floor is open for questions, and I'm really keen also to hear from, we have a group from one of our social work providers in India who are there, other people from the broader region, if you would like to make some comment about how some of the content relates to your context or ask a question, the floor is open again for you. Thank you.
Hello, it's Jim Ive here. Could I ask about what have been the main points of tension between your social work program and other social work programs offered in Pākehā institutions? I'm interested in knowing where are the points where it's been most difficult to have dialogue, to have understanding. Where are the points where there are significant differences or tensions between that kind of conventional white Western way of doing social work and what you're doing so wonderfully there?
I mean, that's a really good question, and I think the establishment of a wānanga was the first tension, because it was seen as what is a Māori place wanting to do within a tertiary setting when that has been historically been the other culture, the Pākehā culture, who've had the lead in that. And I guess one of the things is, so it's about and educating people. But one of the tensions and that has come from Aotearoa within this whole sector is about the Māori bodies of knowledge that we use, Mātauranga Māori, tikanga. They're asking for what is your empirical evidence to say that this is actually valuable? How do you validate that? When a lot of this is actually our own narratives. These are some of our myths, these are some of our legends. And we've been asked to continually validate our position in using our Mātauranga Māori, using language as another form of teaching. The other thing is that we, as I mentioned in my presentation, we look at the whole, we don't just look at the part. And to look at the whole, you have to take in what we refer to as wairua. Wairua is that what you cannot see. You can feel it, you can breathe it, you can taste it. It's constantly in our presence. How do you put that into a tertiary setting when they're looking for evidence to support that? And again, we are regulated by two bodies. We are regulated by NZQA, our National Qualification Authority, and we're also recognised by social work registration. So there are compliance issues that we must meet to be able to maintain our status. That's where the tension occurs, not so much from our other colleagues, because I see the other universities and the polytechs as our colleagues, but where the tension comes is from the authorities around compliance. Because what they don't recognise is the value that we have to offer as Māori and our bodies of knowledge. What they want us to see is what are the non-Māori theories you are using. So when you talk about every morning at 8:30 to Wānanga Aotearoa across the whole country, and we are across the whole country, we all start with karakia. We come together and we start with karakia to begin our day. How do you contextualise that into a compliance? Because we see that as part of the teaching. So then you will move into a classroom and we use things like mōtiatia, waiata, our songs, our historical songs, as a way to unpack theories, principles. How do you fit that? So when we go through the Monitor's yearly visit through NZQA, they struggle with understanding where we're coming from. So what we're doing is, and we're using our takipu as our guiding principles to say, we create a space for you to come into, and we're happy to show you how this can work. What we're seeing with the social work landscape in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is that we're seeing much more wanting graduates who are clinical, who are evidence-based, who are trauma and risk. Te Wānanga Aotearoa does not just solely focus. We focus on the humanistic, the whole being, including wairua. How do you explain a wairua session, which is what you can't see, within a curriculum document? Because if you try to break it down, you start to dilute our bodies of knowledge. You start to dilute all of those historical. So I guess there's not one tension, there are a number of tensions, and till such time. An example is one of the tensions there currently has here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, is that there is an uproar at the thought of teaching Te Reo Māori within our schools as being compulsory for primary. And there is this huge uproar that we should not do that, and yet it's one of the official languages of this country. So those are the constant tensions around validating the position of Māori. So Te Wānanga Aotearoa said, we're tired of having to do that. We will actually deliver a degree that actually will show you how that can be done. I'm not sure, again, I've answered your question, but there are many tensions, but recognising the place of Māori as tangata whenua of this country is the biggest tension that we still have today.
Thank you so much. I see Professor Hata has a question, and maybe we'll hand it over to you now, Professor Hata.
Got a question for Shirley. Thank you for the very interesting presentation. This is eye-opening for all of us in terms of indigeneity. My question is, the graduates from this curriculum, are they only specifically working with Maoris, or they are the curriculum is generic enough for them to have clients of non-Maori origin? Thank you.
So I was cutting in and out. Tracy, are you able to just...
Yeah, sure. Professor Hata asked whether the graduates from the program are kind of qualified and work with non-Māori or just with Māori?
Okay. The graduates from Te Wānanga Aotearoa are provided a program where they can work with anyone, but they use the principles of Ngā Takipu. Now, remember when I said earlier in my presentation, Ngā Takipu are not just Māori, but they are taken from our Māori bodies of knowledge. I'll give you, I guess the example I'll give you is we have a student base, tauira base, that is made up of predominantly Māori and Pacifica, but we also have a number of immigrant and refugees who have actually come to do our program. I spoke to, I'm always interested as to why they choose us, and I spoke to a man from the Congo, and he had been in the army and he was just finished our program. And I asked him why he chose to come and do our program. He said it was one place he could feel safe and that he could be Congolese, that he could take and look at our principles and translate that into his Congolese framework of social work practice, that he could take that and go back into his own community. That is one response. The other one is that our tauira graduate with a social work degree that is recognised by our National Qualifications Authority along with all the other 16 providers of social work. Our social degree is also recognised by Social Work Registration Board so that it meets the competencies of social work registration. But what our graduates also bring is that they actually bring a bicultural lens. And we are the only bicultural degree in Aotearoa, New Zealand, that our foundations are built on that. And that's our point of difference. But I also have to say is we learn Māori and non-Māori theories so that they are in parallel and work alongside each other. A number of our graduates have gone either into Māori organisations, Pacifica organisations, and into statutory government organisations. I've had the opportunity to speak with our largest statutory employer, Oranga Tamariki, and what some of the feedback they've had is that they have been able to bring with them their social work knowledge, but what they've also been able to bring with them is to show how you can truly work in a bicultural way and how that they bring with them the principles and that they share them and show how you can take Ngā Takipu and use that as a framework for your social work practice, and it's not dependent on what ethnic group you belong to, what cultural group you belong to. It's about contextualising it into your own Indigenous worldview, or how we refer to indigeneity as iwi takitaki, and iwi takitaki is those from the land. So it's not a one-fits-only Māori model, it's a generic across all. Kia ora.
Thank you so much. I'm looking at our time, and we've finished our time for today. So I will hand over soon to our president to have some last words. But as a facilitator for this part, I'd like to thank you very much for participating. I see we have participants from Hawaii, from Western Australia, Sydney, Melbourne, Japan, Malaysia, and it's great to have you all here, and here in New Zealand too. And please, for the next one, which is in October, do spread the links around and let others join in. Our next one will be in October, and it will be about social work from an Islam perspective, and would love to have you back and others to join us as well as we have this experience of dialogue, conversation and mutual learning within our Asia and Pacific region. So thank you very much, Shirley, and I'll hand over to our President, Professor Hata, to say any final words and close us off. And I'm not sure whether Professor Joseph also wants to add anything. Thank you.
Tracy, sorry, can I just say, I think India's been trying to ask something, but maybe I don't know what to answer that.
I apologise, and I think we should hear from our group in India. If everyone's okay to just take the time, I apologise to our colleagues there, and we'll give you the space now before we finish.
I just want to say, if you don't mind it, can you share your email ID so that we can share our views and our comments and appreciations if possible. Yeah, for us from Christ.
You're in India.
Will it be possible for you to share your email so that we can share our views and concepts?
So there's a request if you were open to sharing your email.
Yeah.
Yeah. Professor Shirley, are you able to hear us? Dr. Shirley, are you able to hear us? We are 4 of us here, and we are very keen about what you've been talking. And we come from a multicultural society, tribal, non-tribal, and urban, rural, all kinds of a very large country. We have several things to discuss with you, so we would want you to share your email with us so that we can take this conversation forward.
I'm happy for anyone to have my email. I'm happy to keep talking about the possibilities of what can be done out there to change the landscape, especially within the tertiary. And I just want to also acknowledge that our teaching staff are made up of many, many different ethnic groupings. And an example of our teaching staff, in our Auckland campus, we have a person from Bangladesh, we have a person from India, we have a person from Argentina, we have a person from, and so we are not, our teaching is anyone who wants to come and teach at the Te Wānanga, and who comes from that core foundation. So again, I'm happy for anyone to come and talk to me, because I believe that if we grow critical mass, change can occur. Kia ora. So you can share my email, Tracy, however that happens.
Thank you. I've just written Shirley's email in the chat box, so you can go in there and jot that down now. Over to you, Professor Hata. I think he's currently on mute.
Okay, thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Shirley, for a very inspiring presentation. I'm very excited about this series, and I believe we have very little technical glitches except for some echoing here and there. And I'm seeing some familiar faces, Jim Ive and wife, David, and who else? I've seen Carol Adamson in the email list many times. All these are very interesting. Finally, we get to meet each other across time zone and nations. So if you consider it as a live seminar, I think it's pretty successful. We have about 16 person and 1 dog. So I'm looking forward for the next one, which will be in October, right? And our presentation will be from a person from Indonesia, and be talking about Islamic social work. Again, finally, after all 4 series, it'll be interesting how we're going to redefine social work again. Maybe IFSW will have a big IASSW, and IF might have a rethinking about what really social work is all about. Can we come up with a standards definition? After hearing from Shirley, I'm having many thoughts now. And by the end of the four series, wow, we don't know where we're going to end up with all this. But this is a very interesting series. I have to thank Tracy and Victor for the proposal, and of course thanking Joseph for the technical support, and all of us. And please advertise this series. Hopefully with the next series we have more than 16 of us. 16 is very nice. I'm happy. Okay, I think that's about it for now. Hope to see all of us again in October, and we keep on advertising it. Thank you. Joseph, you want to say anything? Over to you.